So we've just had a look at how to create a very simple scratch track with a couple of different versions of 4 chords. So just to do a quick recap, if we go back to those 4 chords, you can see we've got 3 different progressions and we can flick in between them very easily. So that's giving us 3 different directions for the piece already. Then we added some quick drums. So let's move forwards and actually have a look at some of these instruments in greater detail. So the piano sounds a little bit simple. So let's move the piano. So this was our first Hellion Sonic track. Let's now move it to Hellion Sonic 2. And we've got a simple synth track loaded in there. So let's open up Hellion Sonic and have a look at it. So this is one of the new instruments inside of Hellion Sonic. It's called Trip. And you can see it's very vintage, very analog. You've got 3 oscillators as you move through there. It's your traditional synth architecture. And then you've also got these 4 different variations. But Hellion Sonic, with its, I guess, assignability, means that we can actually assign different chords and different triggers down the bottom here, and also different arpeggios. So as we click on these different arpeggios, it's going to give us different versions or different variations. Down the bottom, you can see we've got these assignable quick controls. So I've got this QC here. As I move through this QC, you can see I can edit parameters. Okay, so that's really handy if we're actually recording or we're in the studio. But what if we're using this live? So now I'm going to just move this to the side, and you can see this is multi-timbral. So there's 16 different instrument slots here. I'm going to call up my VST instrument rack. So this has been completely redesigned. In the past you would have noticed there were just slots. So now if we have a look down the bottom, you can see we've got both track instruments, which are these instruments that we would have once added here. Yep. So now they're sitting inside this instrument slot, and we've also got rack instruments. So the advantage that we now have is with track instruments, like for instance Groove Agent, we can assign MIDI inputs. So any MIDI input can be assigned to that track instrument. So we can be working in a studio with multiple MIDI instruments, or we can be at a gig with different keyboards or different pads, and we can be triggering away. The other cool thing that we have now in Hellion Sonic are these quick controls. So these can be edited via the actual instrument itself. So if I open Hellion Sonic back up again, you can see these quick controls relate directly to the quick controls over here. So now if I right mouse click and say add filter cutoff to the first one here, I mean it's already set as a filter, but basically now as I move this, you can see it's moving the filter over here. So I can take any one of these and I can actually set the parameters to match the parameters over in my instrument rack. The other cool thing is if we're playing live, we can just basically use any one of these to flick in between our instruments, and that's exactly what we'll hear, unless we've got different MIDI instruments routed directly into that rack. So there's loads of routing opportunities or possibilities, I guess, within Cubase 7.5.